They found the puppy shivering in the rain outside St. Catherine's Hospital at 3 a.m. Abandoned in a cardboard box that was falling apart. No one wanted him. Too small. Too weak. Too much trouble. But when security tried to take him away, the tiny Labrador refused to leave. He sat at those automatic doors, soaking wet and trembling, staring into the building as if someone inside was calling his name. And they were. Because on the 4th floor, in a room where hope had run out, a 5-year-old girl was about to whisper the words that would save them both. They didn't give him a name at first. Just called him the puppy or the stray. He was maybe 8 weeks old, all golden fur and oversized paws, with ribs you could count and eyes that held an ancient sadness. The cardboard box he'd been left in was soaked through, the word "free" scribbled in marker across the side, already bleeding into illegible streaks. Officer Rodriguez, working the night shift, had found him. Poor thing was crying, he'd told the nurses. Not barking, crying. Like he knew he'd been thrown away. They dried him off in the security office. Fed him some leftover sandwich meat. Called animal control. But when they tried to put him in the carrier, something strange happened. The puppy bolted. Not toward the exit. Toward the elevator. He squeezed through Rodriguez's legs and ran, his small claws clicking frantically against the polished floor, leaving tiny wet pawprints like a trail of tears. Security chased him through the lobby, past the emergency room, past the chapel. The elevator doors opened. The puppy darted inside. And when the doors closed, everyone saw which button was lit. 4th floor. Pediatric intensive care. How did he? A nurse started. But no one had an answer. Because the puppy hadn't pressed anything. The elevator had simply known. When the doors opened again, the abandoned puppy walked out with purpose, moving down the hallway like he was following an invisible thread. He stopped at room 407. And he sat down. Waiting. Inside room 407, 5-year-old Emma Grace hadn't opened her eyes in 2 days. Neuroblastoma. Stage 4. The tumor had spread to her bones, her liver, her lungs. The doctors had done everything. Surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, experimental treatments that made her small body shake with pain she didn't have words for. Her parents, David and Sarah, had stopped sleeping. They took turns holding her hand, whispering stories about the life she'd have when she got better. Knowing, deep down, that she might never hear them. Emma had been a dancer. She loved tutus and glitter and spinning until she got dizzy. She'd wanted to be a ballerina or a veterinarian or maybe a princess who rescued animals. But that was before. Before the pain. Before the hospital became her home. Before her laughter faded into silence. Now she lay still, her breathing shallow, her skin translucent in the harsh hospital light. The machines around her beeped steadily. Monitoring a life that was slipping away like sand through fingers. Sarah sat beside her, head bowed, lips moving in silent prayer. She'd prayed every prayer she knew. Bargained with God. Begged. Pleaded. But heaven felt silent. The doctors had gathered them that morning and used the words no parent should ever hear. It's time to say goodbye. We've done all we can. So. Sarah held her daughter's hand and whispered, if you need to go, baby, it's okay. Mommy loves you. Daddy loves you. You can rest now. But Emma's small fingers had tightened. Just barely. Around her mother's hand. As if to say. Not yet. I'm waiting for something. When the nurses found the puppy sitting outside Emma's door, they froze. He shouldn't be there. Couldn't be there. This was intensive care. Sterile, controlled, off limits to anyone but essential medical staff and immediate family. How did he get up here? Nurse Patricia whispered, reaching for her radio. But before she could call security, the puppy did something that stopped her cold. He whimpered. Not a scared whimper. Not a hungry one. A heartbroken one. He stared at Emma's door with those sad, knowing eyes, and he cried. Soft, desperate sounds that seemed to echo every ounce of grief in that hallway. Dr. Mills arrived, prepared to remove the animal immediately. We can't have. He started. But then Emma's monitor beeped. Everyone's head snapped toward the room. Her heart rate had changed. Elevated. Not dangerously. But noticeably. Sarah stood from her chair, hope and fear warring in her eyes. What's happening? Through the window, they could all see it. Emma's eyelids were fluttering. The puppy's whimpering grew louder. He pawed at the door, gentle but insistent, as if to say, please. She needs me. I need her. Dr. Mills looked at Patricia. Patricia looked at Sarah. Sarah looked at her daughter, at the first sign of movement in 2 days, and made a decision that defied every hospital protocol. "Let him in," she whispered. "Mrs. Chen, I can't." "Let him in." The words weren't a request. They were a mother's last hope speaking. Dr. Mills hesitated. Then, slowly, he opened the door. The abandoned puppy walked into Emma's room like he was walking into church. Reverent, careful, sacred. He moved past the machines, past the 4 lines, past David's outstretched hand trying to stop him. He walked straight to Emma's bedside, placed his front paws on the mattress, and rested his chin on the blanket beside her hand. And he waited. Emma's eyes opened. Slowly. Painfully. Like someone waking from a dream they didn't want to leave. But they opened. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. David moved forward, tears already streaming down his face. Dr. Mills stood frozen, his medical training unable to explain what he was witnessing. Emma's gaze drifted, unfocused at first, searching the room. And then she saw him. The puppy. Her lips parted. A sound escaped. Soft, broken, but unmistakably a word. "Puppy." The abandoned dog's tail began to wag. Slowly. Gently. His whole body trembled with restrained joy. Emma's hand moved. The one that had been motionless for days. Sliding across the blanket toward him. Her fingers, thin and marked with bruises from countless needles, touched his fur. "Soft," she whispered, her voice like wind through leaves. The puppy pressed closer, as if trying to pour all his warmth into her fragile body. His nose touched her palm, and Emma's fingers curled weakly into his golden fur. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. David's shoulders shook with silent sobs. And then Emma did something no one expected. She turned her head. Barely, painfully. And brought her face close to the puppy's ear. Her lips moved, whispering something so quiet that only he could hear. But Sarah saw her daughter's face transform. She saw peace replace pain. She saw light return to eyes that had gone dim. When Emma pulled back, she was smiling. A real smile. The kind they thought they'd never see again. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice stronger now. He was scared too. He was all alone. And no one wanted him and he thought he was going to die. Sarah's heart shattered and healed in the same breath. "But I told him," Emma continued, her hand still resting on the puppy's head, "I told him that God doesn't make mistakes. That we're both here for a reason. That we're supposed to help each other." The room fell into a silence so profound it felt holy. "I told him," Emma whispered, her eyes closing again. "But this time in rest, not resignation, that his name is hope. Because that's what he brought me." Hope didn't leave Emma's side. Not when visiting hours ended. Not when security came to remove him. Not when Dr. Mills tried to explain hospital policy. David Chen looked at the doctor with eyes that had seen too much loss and said quietly, "He stays. Or we all leave." Dr. Mills looked at Emma. At the color returning to her cheeks, at the steady rhythm of her breathing, at the way her small hand clutched the puppy's fur like a lifeline. And made the decision that would cost him arguments with administration but would save him from regret for the rest of his life. "He stays," Dr. Mills said. Hope curled up beside Emma on the hospital bed, his small body pressed against hers, his warmth seeping into her bones. She slept that night for the first time in weeks. Truly slept, without nightmares or pain-induced whimpers. And when morning came, something miraculous happened. Emma asked for breakfast. Then she asked to sit up. Then, 3 days later, she asked if Hope could come with her when she took her first steps down the hallway. The first steps she'd taken in over a month. The nurses cried. Dr. Mills couldn't explain it. Sarah and David held each other and thanked a God they'd almost stopped believing in. Week by week, Emma grew stronger. The scans showed what medicine couldn't explain. The tumor was shrinking. Retreating. As if it recognized that it had no place in a body that had rediscovered hope. Hope grew stronger too. His ribs filled out. His coat grew lustrous. His eyes lost their sadness and gained something else, purpose. 8 weeks after that rainy night, Emma Grace Chen was discharged from St. Catherine's Hospital. She walked out the doors on her own 2 feet, wearing a tutu and carrying a golden puppy named Hope in her arms. The day Hope was abandoned in the rain was the same day Emma Grace stopped fighting. But it wasn't a coincidence. Because sometimes the universe, or something far more intentional, puts 2 broken souls in the same place at the exact moment they need each other most. Hope wasn't just a puppy who needed saving. He was an answer to a prayer that had been whispered through tears at 3 a.m. And Emma wasn't just a sick child. She was the reason an abandoned puppy refused to give up. They saved each other. Because that's what love does. It shows up in the rain, in the darkness, in the impossible moments when everyone else has walked away. It sits outside the door until someone finally opens it. It whispers truths that medicine can't explain and hope that defiance can't break. The day they found each other was the day they both came back to life. And somewhere, in the space between tragedy and miracle, grace smiled. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today.